It's good to be in the house of the Lord. Awesome time of worship. I really needed that. That was good. I have something that I enjoy doing, I guess from time to time, fairly regularly. I watch these accountability videos that are designed to show what government and law enforcement are doing right, and where they're just kind of pretending that things have already been changed that haven't been changed yet, and pretending the Constitution doesn't exist and things like that, to kind of hold the government in accountable, actually, and but also to show where people are surrendering their rights too quickly, or trying to stand up for their rights that they don't actually have. So they're very instructable. There are some things that we think, that aren't necessarily true. Like, there are times when you can get pulled over on a traffic stop and they can search your car without your consent or a warrant. There are times for that, and some people don't realize that, but that's not the point. The point is I watch these things from time to time, and I saw one last night where a father had been trying to reach his estranged daughter. They had some sort of disagreement. She had left the house. She was 18, and she had left the house and evidently was staying at her boyfriend's house, who the two of them were staying with his mother. And this law enforcement officer, police officer, staked out that house. He somehow tracked her laptop to find out where she was, and staked out her house and waited for the young man she was staying with to get in his car and drive away. And as soon as he started down this road, pulled him over, didn't ask for his ID, anything. He walked up to the car, opened the door, said, "You can get out, you're going to jail." And then it went downhill from there. He threatened the mother with jail. He finally found the daughter and then grabbed her, forcibly put her in the car, said he was going to take her to a hospital and have her put on a mental health hold, because he didn't like her boyfriend and he wanted her to come home, and violated Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, 14th Amendment of the Constitution, the First Amendment of the Constitution at one point, because he told the boy's mother that if she called 911 to try to get a different officer out there, that he would take her to jail if she called 911. It was nuts. And it was an obvious, horrible abuse of power. And the good news is that the next day, this officer was fired. And really, since the daughter was 18 and she was screaming the whole time, "Let me go, I don't want to go, you can't do this," he should have been charged with kidnapping, because that is the very definition. But even as I was sitting there going, "Yep, that's out of line, that's out of line, that's out of line," there was a part of me going, if it was my kid and I was worried about her, would I be tempted to do the same thing? And I had the power? I mean, even if I wasn't a law enforcement officer, would I be tempted to go over there and, okay, no, this is not the right situation for you. This is not a good situation. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's a good thing to do, but would I be tempted? Yeah. Yeah, someone I care about is in what I perceive as danger. And this doesn't happen all the time, but it's very natural to us. And it got me to thinking, I think this is one time where our natural understanding that we are created in the image of God messes us up. Because we see that father with some authority do something like that, or we see things like that on a regular basis. You watch a man with power, quite often it gets ugly pretty fast. And because we're like that, that's our natural bent, for good or bad, we ascribe that to the Father. We think God's like that. God's sitting back there just trying to force me into line. He's gonna make, he's gonna use his power to get me. And he could have. He is sovereign. He can do what he wants. He spoke this whole thing into existence. I'm pretty sure he can handle my stubbornness. But he chose to do it a different way because of his nature. In his rule, his sovereignty, in his rulership, in his lordship over everything, he chose to give us a free will. And when that is going to mean that we're going to be separated from him because we can't will ourselves into righteousness, instead of snapping his finger, creating automatons, or using the power of his force to get us all in line, to make us do what we should, he wrapped himself in flesh. And he came down and he did what we were always supposed to do and couldn't and can't and won't ever be able to on our own. And he did it right. Every moment, every breath, in perfect love, in perfect submission to the Father. No sin. And instead of breaking us and breaking our will to make us submit, what men in power have a tendency to do, he did the opposite because his ways are not like our ways. He allowed himself to be broken to save me. He let me break myself. That was the result of free will. But he broke himself for me and for you. He spilled his blood. His body died on that cross that I deserved. Making him approachable. Not a power-hungry tyrant, but a Father who loves us and will do anything and everything without violating us to make it possible for us to have relationship with him. That is the most amazing, awesome thing. Yeah, we're made in the image of God, but our nature has been corrupted, so a lot of the things that we naturally lean to, most of the things that we naturally lean to, are not a reflection of who he is in his glory. And that abuse of power is one of them. God has never abused his power. Now, there will be a day, and it won't be abuse, it's justice, when every knee will bow, every tongue will confess that he is Lord, and every single person who has said yes to that free call to come because of what Jesus did on the cross will be able to say, Abba, Father, holy, holy Jesus, you are Lord for eternity and life. And those who chose to reject it, God's not going to hold you against your will. So if you don't want to be in his presence and you don't want to be in relationship with him, you get out of it. for eternity. You don't want that. But that's justice. That's not abuse. That's not a tyrant. That's a loving, righteous king finishing the job that he promised to finish. But until that day, whether that day is him bringing us to him all, or whether it's, hey, I close my eyes and I don't open them back up until I see his face. Until that moment, we have the Spirit and the bride saying, come. Because of what Jesus did on that cross, we can come. In the middle of our mess, in the middle of our mistakes so we don't do worse right after our mistake, when we're not making the mistake and we doing pretty good, we can come. Regardless of our circumstance, regardless of our situation, we can approach God because of Jesus. And that is why our communion table is open. In case you've ever wondered. Because the Spirit says, whoever may come. If you want to come to me, you can come. And it doesn't matter how bad you've messed up this week. Doesn't matter. Because his mercies are new every morning. And his forgiveness is faithfully applied when we put our trust in his work. So remembering that you are forgiving and trusting in the work that Jesus did, if that's the case for you in this moment, you can come and take the bread and the cup, return to your seat, have fellowship with the Father, the Son, and the Spirit, and know that you are loved as you are, not as you should be, but that he loves you enough not to leave you as you are, and that's why he died. He could have turned us into puppets, suspended us from spiritual strings so we couldn't do anything. But instead, he suspended himself between heaven and earth with nails and wood.